Hi everyone, it's Raina. So this video is 3 tips for people who have the Sun, the Moon, Venus, or Mars in Libra to attract and keep love. Okay, and the reason I mentioned both of those areas is because it's one thing to attract a relationship, but some people find that they're able to do that, but they cannot keep a relationship going. And even, I'm not talking about just any old relationship, but one that is actually a good one. Why is that? Why don't people find that they're able to keep relationships? Well, depending on a person's pain body or their trauma, they can actually push love away. They can push away good people because they are so terrified of those people abandoning them. So they in their twisted logic, and this is going to be on an unconscious level, they will think that the best defense is a good offense. And again, people are not like plotting to do this. If they were, they would never get involved in the first place with anybody, because there's no law that you have to be in a relationship. So people, they want something that they fear at the same time. Okay, so tip 1 for these Libra placements: come from a place of want, not need. And this is very important. Libra, you rule the 7th house of committed partnership. I don't care if your Sun is in Libra, your Moon is in Libra, your Venus is in Libra, or your Mars is in Libra, or any combination thereof. You will tend to have a desire to be coupled. And this can come from a young age. You could be, when all of your friends want to just hang out together, and you might be the first one to date out of anybody. Just because to you, the natural state is to be in a relationship. And I'm not here to talk you out of it, but what I am here is to encourage you to be discerning when you get involved in relationships and not take the first thing that comes along, nor to even go from one relationship to another because you feel really weird to be single. If you feel weird being single, if it feels like abnormal for you, tell yourself that, you prefer being in a relationship, but you want to be able to be independent as well. Because the more that a Libra person can function as an individual, the more you will function at top-notch level as a couple. But if you're the kind of person who gets freaked out when you are single and you're just looking to find the first person that you can get so you can feel that sense of, okay, now I have an identity, I'm in a relationship, then not only will you tend to make bad choices, but you'll also be coming to that choice from a place of fear. And it's never a good idea to make choices in a fear-based state. The second tip is show your true colors. Be authentic. I am saying this to Libra a lot. And one reason is because Libra is a sign that is very capable of being impartial. Number 1 reason is because you're an air sign. All air signs are detached. Gemini is detached, Libra is detached, and Aquarius is detached. Detachment means that your personal feelings do not color your opinions on things. This is one reason why I think that the sign of Libra is very attracted to legal professions like paralegal, lawyers, judges, things like that. Because you have this ability, which is not present in every person, to see all sides of an issue and to not let your personal opinions sway you into judging a situation. You know, especially if it doesn't involve you personally. You would think that everyone would be able to do this, but it just doesn't work that way. People become very attached to their opinions to the point where it really does color their judgment. And this makes you very receptive to other people's opinions. In part, again, going back to the first point, because you do rule the 7th house. And partnership is important to you, and we call that the other. So it doesn't have to always be your significant other. It can be any one-on-one relationship in which you're engaged in, including a close friend. You're just the kind of person who is very interested in what other people think. And that's okay, and that's actually wonderful, because you do take other people's ideas, opinions, feelings into account. You're not just totally self-centered in that way. The problem becomes when it's too much concern for what others think about a particular issue. I always bring up this example when I'm talking about Libra. I could see a Libra woman saying to her girlfriends, "What do you think about this dress?" Now, one girlfriend may say, "Oh, I love that color." And another girlfriend may say, "Oh gosh, how can you wear such a dress with that, that kind of a shape of that dress? I don't like the way it doesn't really flatter you." If you notice, just if you read comments online, it's almost like hilarious how, in a single, like let's say it's a video, you can have reactions that are diametrically opposed. I see it all the time, where some people say, "Oh my God, I love you," and then the person say, "You're the lamest thing ever." And this is one of the greatest teachers to all of us, is that there are many different opinions in this world, and it makes no sense to ask somebody else's opinion about your clothing when you chose your clothing. So you obviously liked what you chose. What you're really asking for is approval when you're asking other people's opinion of something that you have chosen for yourself. This is where Libra can become quite neurotic, needing approval to such a degree. And part of this, too, is not trusting your own judgment, that you have to bounce your choices off on other people to make sure that you made the right choice. You have to resist this tendency, and not only resist the tendency to do that, but also to become what your partner wants you to be. This is what a Libra person will do after they get into the relationship. And sometimes this can be in the early stages of the relationship, when you haven't closed the deal, if you want to call, getting the person to commit to you, closing the deal. You might be the type to pretend, if you're a woman and you're interested in a man, pretend that you like sports when you hate them and go to these games. And that's false advertising, because if you're trying to snag a sports nut, you need to ask yourself, like, is this person really compatible with you? If they're really interested in sports and you think sports are lame, what happens when you do snag this person and they continue to expect you to go to the games with them, and you're going to do a 180, and basically that's a bait and switch. So you have to be honest with yourself about why you're doing what you're doing. Being authentic doesn't mean that you never go to a game if you're dating a sports nut. But it means letting them know that you really don't care for sports and that you're much more interested in art galleries, if that's the case. And that you won't try to change them, but they need to know that about you so that you don't have to pretend to like something that you really don't. And this is kind of like, to me, a happy medium, because I do think that sometimes people can have diverse interests and still find enough common ground to form a serious relationship. So I'm not saying you have to completely be in agreement with your partner's interests at all. But I do feel that it's only fair to that other person that you let them know exactly how you feel about different issues, and that you do not try to conform to their ideal man or woman, that you really present yourself in an authentic way and still be willing, still being cooperative and being willing to share some of the things that make them happy. The third tip is kind of similar to the second, and I think when I was elaborating, I kind of mixed them in, or mixed it in. And the third tip is, do not people please. Be able to say no and mean it. Again, people try to make others happy because they want acceptance. And trying to make another person happy is wonderful. There's nothing wrong with wanting to please another person. But when you need to do it in order to feel like you will be accepted by that person, then it's crossed the line. Then it's become something where you are afraid to say no, and you don't have good boundaries. And a Libra person who continues to go down that road will tend to find that it gets more and more extreme. And eventually, they are forced to say no, but by that time, they may be deeply entrenched with a narcissist, for instance, with somebody who keeps upping the ante. And sometimes this is a way to test them to see how far they can take this person. Libra has a lot to offer, but when you don't really have a core personality, when you're trying to be what somebody else wants you to be, then it's like you have no identity. You're just kind of like this hollow shell. And I don't really believe that a person who engages in this type of behavior is happy in their relationship, even if the other person seems to be content with the relationship. I think that what will happen, Libra, is that you will develop resentment. And, probably more than one, probably a list of resentments. And eventually these will erupt. Eventually something will give, and you will have had enough. But by that time, you have trained this other person to kind of be thinking of you as willing to go along with just about anything that they want. And the relationship will have been so grossly one-sided that there's a good chance that you will not be able to reconcile the relationship, because you will have been so angry by that point that you won't even consider giving it a second chance. And while sometimes it's right for you to get away from a person who may be displaying narcissistic characteristics, there may be instances where the other person truly thought that you were the way you said you were. And they may have just kind of been oblivious to the fact that you were resentful, that you did feel put upon by the other party. So really how I would phrase this is that it's not fair to another person to say that you like things that you don't like and do things that you don't want to do. Libra oftentimes is worried about not being nice. Again, all of these things are because Libra fears disapproval and rejection. Libra wants to be loved and wants to keep that relationship going. And one of the things that Libra is also afraid of is any kind of conflict. And I've witnessed this in my private life, that this one fear, which is highly irrational and impossible, can actually lead to the very thing that you don't want. So, in other words, if you fear conflict, there's every chance that that is going to be more likely to exist in your relationship. What you resist persists. That's part of the law of attraction. When you embrace the fact that as human beings, in any type of relationship, even in the best of relationships, that there is bound to be some times when both parties are not going to agree. And you can accept that and not think and not be threatened by that, then I think that you're going to be in a lot better place. People pleasing is about avoiding conflicts. But avoiding conflicts is completely unrealistic and actually undesirable. Conflicts give us a chance of seeing how other people's desires butt up against ours. And sometimes, after we hash things out, we may find that we understand where that other person is coming from, and we may even join them. That's part of growth, is really being exposed to differences. When you're always dealing with the same kind of ideas, the same kind of belief systems, it reinforces your belief system, but that creates a false sense of security, because there are many people who differ in how they view life, how they view relationships, what they think relationships are about, and that's okay. So I want you to show who you are, Libra, in a relationship, because you are really a great catch. And one of the reasons that you're such a great catch is that you are kind-hearted. You are diplomatic. You don't want to unnecessarily upset people. Those are wonderful impulses, and those should be nurtured. But by the same token, do not feel that you are a bad person if your opinions differ from the person that you're with. You can actually help them through sharing your different opinion, because it gives them something to think about. If you can reframe some of these things that maybe make you uncomfortable, you may find that you're able to be authentic and at the same time keep the peace, and have that civil type of relationship. I agree. We should treat each other with respect. But disagreeing doesn't have to be disrespectful. Okay, that's what I have for you. I hope that you found this informative. If you would like a private reading, please click on the link below. Thank you for listening. Take care. Bye.